Welcome back to Thanks for Letting Us Share. So we ended the last episode with TJ asking me how I got into my first rehab.
Yes.
So it's funny because I was delusional enough to think that I planned it, right? Because I knew that I had a problem, right? Well, it was getting to that point. And originally I had taken 2 weeks off of work. I had planned a vacation. I was going to go down to Mississippi with my sister and just stay with her for 2 weeks. So I figured I just need to be away from everything for 2 weeks, and I need to be away from my drug of choice, what had become my drug of choice, for 2 weeks, and I would be okay. And what happened was I had gotten this new job, and it was a job that I had kind of worked really hard for, and I was looking forward to, and I really wanted it. And things started happening where I started calling out, and I started being the first week of training, I was struggling to make it there because I was just staying up all night doing drugs. And I was like, if I don't go get some help, I'm going to lose this job.
Yeah.
And I had lost the job earlier that year. I was like, I'm going to lose this job because this is going to keep happening. So I went and pulled one of my managers aside, and I literally broke down crying. I need some help. So I went to this place called Friends Hospital, and my insurance had lapsed. I didn't have state insurance, and I wasn't paying my insurance because of drugs and stuff. So I couldn't get into a rehab that time. So they kept me for 72 hours and sent me on my way. I didn't even make it home before I got high again. Long story short, so that kept going on for a few weeks or maybe a couple months. And then this vacation was coming up. And I remember the day that it happened because... So there's another city between Philadelphia and where I grew up in New Jersey called Camden. For those of you who don't know, we're in Philadelphia. Camden's right across. New Jersey is directly across the bridge, and Camden is also another not such a great city. I'm sure it has its great parts, but as of now, it's not great. So I had this vacation coming up, and I planned with my mom, I'm gonna go to stay with her on the weekend, so I wouldn't be in my normal place and running around. And I was gonna go stay with her for the weekend, commute back to work for 2 days, and then go to rehab. And on the way to my mom's on Friday night, I didn't make it past Camden. And I didn't show up to my mom's house till noon the next day. And I was like, I gotta go now. I gotta go to rehab tonight. And she was like, well, why don't you just do what you said you were going to do? You only got one more day to go to work, and just go to work and come back and we'll do it. And I was like, Mom, if I get back on this bus, I'm not going to make it back past Camden, and I know that.
Yeah.
So we started calling around some places in New Jersey, but since I lived in Pennsylvania, I had to go in Pennsylvania. And literally, we called Miramont, and they were like, can you get there by 7:00? And I started making some calls, and thank God for my homie James. He came through, and he was able to pick me up and take me over. And so thank God for him. Funny story though, James is a pothead. He's the biggest one I know, and he's not shy about it, but he's great. He's one of the best people that I know. And on the way to rehab, he offered me weed. He was offered me to take a hit. He was like, "Oh, you're not going for weed, right?" I was just like, "Dude, And I'm just looking at him like, dude, are you serious right now?
I would have so taken that hit.
I know. But like, but honestly, before I stopped drinking and stuff, like I stopped smoking weed because I started getting panic attacks a couple years earlier because like I went through like a breakup and I started, smoking and drinking and I started having panic attacks because all that would happen was I would get up in my head and just be trapped in my head with my thoughts. And then, I realized that wasn't the first time. I started thinking about it later because I was like, do you remember how like when I would come over and smoke with you like back in the day when we were like in our early 20s? I would come over and I would smoke and I would wait a half an hour exactly and then I would leave. And he was like, oh, I never noticed that. I was like, yeah, because I didn't want to be rude and just smoke and leave, but I would wait a half an hour exactly because I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. And a half hour is a good cutoff point that I'm not being rude. And I'm just like, all right, I got to go. Like,
wow. Yeah.
Thinking back on it, like as much as I was like, thought that like it was always keeping me kind of even, it was already starting to like kind of do its thing on me. And, on the marijuana thing, I know a lot of people are. Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent, but people will try to talk about the uses of marijuana, and how and they almost don't want to admit the fact that it is a drug, and the same reason I started smoking crack, the same reason I did cocaine, the same reason I drank like I did, is the same reason that I started smoking marijuana.
Yeah.
I did it all for the same reasons, right? And there are people who can't go through a single day without using marijuana.
Yeah. More and more.
Right.
More people.
And just because it's socially acceptable doesn't mean it's not a problem, because guess what else is socially acceptable and a problem?
My favorite alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so true. Oh my gosh. Like I used to smoke, but I was always smoking and drinking. I don't think I ever really smoked without drinking. But at a certain point I realized like I don't really like the drinking. It's either making me paranoid or I'm just tired. And
You
so
mean smoking?
Yeah, smoking.
Okay.
So so alcohol was really my thing. I could take and leave, the weed. But also I've seen people have like psychotic breaks with weed. I remember being like a friend of mine in high school, pothead, smoked all the time, and like would come to school high as a kite, but also doing like really weird, messed up things. I saw it again when I was in college with a friend. Had to go to rehab for it, or a psych ward. I don't think at that time they weren't really letting people into rehabs just for weed, so I'm pretty sure it was a psych ward that he went to. But yeah, I've seen it, and it was like it always made me think. I'm on the side where it's just like weed is a drug, just like any other drugs. For some people, they can do it and not have these crazy effects. Some people will have effects. Some people get addicted. Some people, it's the same as anything else. So I'm not against it or for it either way. Like with alcohol, it's just I want people to tap into like, if you have a problem, pay attention to that. And just because weed's natural and it comes from a plant doesn't mean that it can't also be harmful, because we know that all kinds of drugs come from plants, or natural things, and they can still have a negative effect.
All of them. Alcohol.
Yeah.
Is
tobacco,
right.
Like
it's
coffee beans.
There's so many things. And I love that. I love that. It's like everything starts out as a plant, but even like weed now, it's not like a lot of it just grows like that. It's genetically modified. Just like, we talk about genetically modified food, but you'll smoke a genetically modified marijuana plant and just be like, well, it's natural, but it's not, because it doesn't just grow that way. Yeah. Somebody did science to make all these different strains of it and shit.
Yeah. So. What I thought was interesting when I went to rehab, I think there was a girl in there who was in there for weed, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. I also saw a guy who was in there for Adderall, which I thought was pretty cool too. So these things are starting to be taken more seriously, which is good. So my first time going, it was a lot. Like, so I remember 2 years prior to actually going, I was talking to a friend, and like my progression was starting to change. Like alcohol was starting to take from me. I say take from me versus like give to me, because most of my drinking, it was like, helping me be normal, but then it started to make me feel less normal. And I remember being to a friend, like, I think I need to just check myself into a rehab. This was 2 years before I actually went. But in my mind at the time, like, rehabs were only for rich people, right? Like what we saw on TV. It's only white people going to rehab. How can I even afford it? I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to go to rehab. So it seemed so, like, unreachable and unattainable that I was just like, never going to happen. And then there's also, like, how do you even start the process? What do I just call? Who do I call? Like,
Right.
do I say, hey mom, I want to go to rehab? Like, how do you even start that conversation with anyone? So I didn't go. So 2 years later, my drinking is getting worse. I have a job that I started. Maybe like I was there for a year or so before things got bad. I started that job drinking on the interview. Like, I was a horrible employee. It was like one of those things where I'm like, I'll get, I'm just going to drink this one more time, and then I'm going to, this weekend I'm going to get it together. It was years of that. I'm just going to do this and go hard, and then I'm going to stop after this. But that never happened. I didn't have the ability to stop. So anyway, I'm drinking on this job. I'm drinking, lunch breaks. It slowly got worse. First it was like after work, then it was lunch breaks, then it was just making up breaks to go to the liquor store and drink. Like, it was insane. And so it got to the point where I was drunk at a work event, and I was just a hot mess. It was insane that night. And I was around people at work. I was around, like, new hires. I was around managers from other teams. It was crazy. And so the next day I go into work, and my boss is like, so we recommend that you go to rehab. And that was basically the conversation. Like, I left, maybe I transitioned a couple things, and then I left because it was suggested, but it was like, if you don't go, you're probably going to lose your job. But what I appreciate is I had a job where, they have to uphold FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, which I had no idea that you could do that for mental health and addiction, right? If you have a job that offers that, you can take time off. I still got a paycheck. I didn't know any of this, but I was doing it because I didn't want to lose my job. And if this is what they say I have to do to not lose my job, I'm doing it. So anyway, I go home and I'm drinking, right? Like I said, I don't go to rehab. I don't go to rehab sober. So I drink all day, packing my bags. And then I finally go the next day. Like, I basically, the HR person was like, yeah, I know a friend who just had success at Miramont. And they're like, give them a call. And I didn't have the mental capacity to be calling a whole bunch of places. So I'm like, okay, insurance, I'm calling you. Check out this spot, Miramont. They accept my insurance. And that was it. So I do remember on the drive there being like, finally, I'm getting this help. Because it had been 2 years since I realized that I'm having a problem. And so it was like, yeah, I'm finally getting this done. So I go there, and, I'm first 2 weeks so excited. I'm like, this is going to be a fresh start for me, and I'm doing the things I'm supposed to do. But I remember there was this part in my brain that just, like, clicked differently. And it was like, I just stopped being open, and I think it was the alcohol brain just creeping back in. It was like, I didn't really want to stop. Like, I got my 2 weeks of, sober, not drinking. Now I'm ready to go. Right. And so I remember listening to the things that I could do differently. I remember there was this one nutrition presentation, and they were talking about things to eat in sobriety. And I was like, okay, so if I eat this stuff, then I'll be able to drink better. Like, that's just where it was. And it was just so weird because, like, the other thing that I experienced in rehab was it seemed like I was different than other people. Like, I remember having another patient be like, why are you here? You don't seem like you need to be here, right? Like, and a tech who worked there said that you don't seem like you need to be here.
I got that
and
a
that
lot
just
too.
plays with my brain, like, because alcohol doesn't have one face, addiction doesn't have one face, and that just played with my brain and made me like, oh, I don't need to be here. I must not have a problem. I don't look like I'm a drunk. I must not be a drunk, right? And so I think those thoughts, like, they were just seeping in on top of the fact that I still didn't really understand, where this addiction was going to take me. I didn't understand alcohol. I didn't really understand my body yet. This was just the beginning to multiple years of getting worse before I got better. And then when I left It was crazy. The day I left, I was in the car with the cab driver, and this was another person of color, not black, but a person of color, and he was basically like, you don't need this stuff. All you need to do is just monitor your drinking even more. For someone who is like me, who's already battling these thoughts of like, I'm not this person, that was the last thing I needed to hear.
I'm sorry, did he pick you up from the rehab?
He picked me up from the rehab.
Sure.
Was like, why are you here? Oh, you don't need this stuff. You don't really. Yes. A 45-minute drive, basically, of him being like, I have a problem too, but all we got to do is just monitor it a little bit more. You can drink. And so I'm like, yeah, I can drink. And so what happens? I get home, I drop my bags down, I say hi to the dogs, and I walk to the bar. And that's pretty much how most of these rehab stays, the first few rehab stays, like, ended in me being like, okay, go into the, you know what I mean? I don't know, just insanity. That's the insanity of addiction. And like I said, just that first time was just the beginning of, it was just the introduction. Like, and I think in my mind too, I have a big ego. I'm better than other people. I didn't think this would be the beginning of 13 facilities, yeah. Right? I thought it was, and my mom, she told me how she was bragging to people. Who brags when your daughter's in rehab? But she was saying to people, yeah, my daughter's it's just gonna be one and done. Like, she's got this. No.
So, you know what? One thing in rehab that I learned, like, probably within the first, actually, you were sitting there with me when so do you remember this girl Taylor? She was a Marine. She came up and she sat next to us, and we were talking about why we were there, like what brought us there and how we got there. And I was like, yeah, I was smoking crack. And she was like, what? That's crazy. Like, you know, damn, like, it's not, you know, did she said something about how, like, oh, I thought you might have just been here for, like, doing cocaine or something like that. And I'm like, it's the same fucking thing. Yeah. And then I realized that, like, so many people don't know a goddamn thing about this, but want to give their input. Yeah. So maybe I should listen to the people who do this. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because, like, even, like, my best friend, at one point, I was having, like, a mental breakdown. This is way before. This is, like, month and maybe a year before, like, I ended up in rehab. And I was, you know, I had spent a night out doing blow and, like, drinking and you know, the normal partying things that, like, bartenders and service industry folks do. And he goes, oh, you're fine, you just need to slow down, because I'm crying. I'm like, dude, I think I need help. And he's in the mental health field, right? And he tells me I just need help. But then, like, when somebody tells him that, you know, mentions crack to him, that I was doing that, he, like, loses his mind. And I'm like, it's kind of the same. Yeah. And then I was, like, talking to a friend of mine who we had gone back and forth, and I didn't know this at the time, but, like, there's no physical withdrawal from cocaine. I didn't know that, which kind of sucks going into rehab, because you're really tired and you're really sad and nobody gives a fuck, and they're just like, nah, you don't have any physical. Medically, you're okay. Yeah, medically, you're okay. Yeah. Get your ass in them groups and stay up all day, even though you haven't slept for 3 days. Yeah. So it's like, you know, people get coming in with alcohol and, like, heroin and opiates.
That first detox was so bad.
They get the meds, and, like, I just get to be sad and tired for a few days.
Well, yeah. I was sick at first. Oh, I felt so, like, heavy. Like, my whole body. That first one was the worst one. That first detox, my whole body was, like, heavy. And, like, I couldn't move. I was sore, and, like, everything happening with the shitting and the vomiting and the, like, sleeping. Like, it was a mess. Those ham sandwiches in that joint, like, saved my life. Ham sandwiches and Gatorade, yo.
Oh, shit.
That stuff saved my life, because it was awful. But then, so the medical, like, detox is over, and then the feelings come. Then the, like, crying and the tired and just the shame and guilt. Like, all that stuff that I stuffed down every time I picked up, that came back. So that first, like, week in rehab Oh, it was the worst.
I think what also like what a lot of people don't understand about rehab and like definitely go if you have a problem, but that's the easy part.
Right.
That's the easy part.
That's true.
And everybody's all in there like, kumbaya, we're all going to be so happy and sober. And we're saying all this good stuff. And then
Not
you
the
get out
reality.
into the world and life is still there. And you're like,
The
what the actual fuck?
Yeah, that's when the work starts. Right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And it's so like, I joke because like I mentioned that I relapsed a few times and, I've had a year straight of sobriety most of the multiple times, and I talk about that first year was awful.
Yeah,
it was so hard. But like, one of the things that I didn't realize in that first year though is like how actually incrementally like better life was getting, and it took a while to see that. And like, even though I was feeling all of these things that like I wasn't used to feeling, and it became like after when it's kind of like climbing up a mountain, I guess, and you think, and it just doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere, or like you look up and you see like so much more to go, and then you're like, fuck it, and then you turn back around and you're just like, oh shit, that's really far down. Like I'm actually pretty high up this goddamn thing. Like there's no going back now.
Yeah.
Well, if you do go back, it's like it's going to be a hard tumble.
Yeah. For me, so it's funny because our stories are different in the sense that like that first time you got out and actually tried, you actually like really applied yourself and got time. Like me, I went right back. Like I was. It's crazy because we pretty much have the same amount of time. We just did it in different ways. Like I just fucked up for like a couple years after that first time and just kept drinking and things kept getting worse. And I eventually got it. I don't know what sparks that click, but just sick and tired of being sick and tired, like people say, and finally got it. But like in the beginning, I was like, nah, I'm just gonna go all in. I think I also needed to see. I'm one of these people that need to experience things for myself. I don't listen to other people when they tell me something's going to be a certain way.
Right.
I need to experience it. As painful as it is, I need to do it on my own. So that's kind of where I was.
I mean, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was soon after. I didn't stay sober that long before, like, I relapsed. And, I was there, and then like I fucked up in my first recovery house after like a month and a half, and I was pissed because I was like, this isn't fun anymore. Like this was fun like 3 weeks ago.
It changes.
Yeah, and then like once you get that little bit of exposure to like what like life is like and like kind of what life is supposed to be like, and just knowing better, it's just like, this isn't fun anymore.
That moment, so it took me a while to get there, but that's one of the pieces that changed for me when I like finally got sober for real. Was like, it didn't do anything. There was a long time where it was like, at least that first one or the crazy was doing stuff for me. But when it got to the point where it was like, I'm drinking and I don't feel anything but sick or exhausted, or like, I remember every crazy thing that I'm doing. I'm not numbing anymore. Like, it was literally just not working. Like, that was when I was like, this is pointless. I'm just dying and I'm sick. And it's not giving me any of those, like, helpful whatevers that it was at a certain point. So that was a crazy shift for me. But that helped me to be like, all right, I just got to try this thing,
I know there's a certain thing that I'm looking for when that I was looking for every time that I went back to what I was doing, and most times I wasn't getting it, but I would always think, I'm so close. All right, if I do it like this, I got it now. I figured out the secret recipe. And then not the last time, but the time before that, I actually achieved it, and I was like, great. And then it tricked me into thinking that it was possible, and then I did it again, and I was just like, oh yeah, remember how this doesn't work out? Like, you fooled yourself because it happened once, right? It's like, if I shoot 100 3-pointers and I make one, and then I turn around and be like, see, I'm a 3-point shooter. Like, it's not like I'm Steph Curry now. It's like, no.
I think I had my realization with that was kind of like, people would keep talking about cravings and obsession, right? The difference between cravings, which I've learned is like physical. Like I have a craving, I need to consume alcohol to like satisfy that craving, even though there was no satisfying. It's like as soon as I drink, it's like more and more and more. But what was going on in my head, that idea of like, I just like to drink. I need the drink. I'm always thinking about it. Like whether I'm drinking or not, it was in my head. And I remember there was a time like during the longest period of sobriety before this time, it was during my 85-day stretch. And at the end of that, I remember picking up once on a Sunday and being like, I'm just going to have this drink this day and then I'm going to be good. I'm going to like, show that I can do this. I can control this. And I drank Sunday and I didn't drink again till Wednesday. But all the time in between that, all I could think about was drinking. When am I going to get the next one? I was on edge. You would have thought I was like a drug addict, just like jittery and like, when am I getting the next one? And my thoughts were all about it. And that was the time when I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. Not having control. It's not control of the day. It's control over when I'm like trying to stop and I can't, or trying to stay stopped and I can't, because I picked up on Wednesday and I was like, that feeling of, oh, this is it, right? That calming feeling. Only an addict gets that. Like,
right.
I'm on edge, and I get what I want, and then I'm good. And then it was just on. It was like I was just in it again, right? And that was another trip to the rehab. But yeah, like the thoughts. It's what's happening in my mind, what's happening in my body. It's like all of it is just, gravitating toward this need to drink.
I remember a friend. We were working together and he goes, I don't know, dude. Like, it's hard for me to think that, like, if I don't drink for like 50 years and then I pick up a drink, like, I should be good, right? And I was like, who doesn't spend their time thinking about when the next time they can drink is?
Right. Right. Normal people.
Right.
And by normal, I just mean non-alcoholics and addicts.
Right. Like, it's like, who spends all their time thinking about when's the next time they can drink? An alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess a question that a lot of people will ask who are struggling, why do rehab again if, the real work is outside, right? We know we go into rehab and then we come out, and why go to rehab again? Because we often tell people, like, if you're struggling a lot, if you're medically at that point where you're dependent, go to rehab. And I can see, because I had been on that, other side. I don't want to keep doing this thing over and over again. I know what the end result's going to be, right? I'm just going to come out and drink again. I need to learn how to live in the real life, not be in a rehab. So why do we keep telling people to go back? Why do we keep going back?
All right. So I know why I went back. So the first time I went back is because I was living in a recovery house, and if I wanted to stay in a recovery house, I had to go back to rehab. The second time I went back was because I was like, I was definitely like missing something because this keeps happening. I wasn't like, and I was hoping, I was like, I need something without the bells and whistles, because I was thinking about how many times I went to rehab and I was just there for like the gym or the yoga or like the things. And I was just like, I need to go. Like, I need to go and focus this time and get what I can out of it. And then, the last time I went, it was kind of that same thing. It's just like, okay, I had gotten like all of this time, or, no, it was more of like, okay, you keep doing this, like, and you're putting together these stretches of time. Like, what is going on? Like, you need to go figure this out. Like, because something, and the last time it was during COVID, so like, also I thought maybe there was something about this particular point of time of like just that there's something that I need to learn from. And ultimately I stopped going back to rehabs when I made a conscious decision that I was going to take life slower. Right? Like, because a lot of times, and I can speak for myself, when I came out, I was just like, okay, I got to go into this recovery house, and I got to go into, then I got to get a job, and I got to save this amount of money, and I got to do this thing, and then in this amount of time, I need to be out of this recovery house and on. And then I decided the last time, it's like, look, no matter what happens, I'm staying in this recovery house for a year. I could hit the lottery, and I'm still staying here for a year. Doesn't fucking matter. I'm just going to be here, and like, I'm not going to worry about anything else outside of that. And I think that sometimes it takes that experience of getting to a point where you don't worry about anything else outside of recovery, because like, yeah, we learn all of the things, and like sometimes you could tell, I guess, that like you weren't paying attention. Like, yeah, like you were listening for some facts, but you were listening for facts so you can use them as arguments later. You weren't listening to like learn and figure out and like grow, you know? So until somebody listens to grow and doesn't listen just to like, or doesn't use it as a vacation, or like use it as a time to dry out, like I think it's a good idea to keep going back. And if you've been disconnected from like the program for a long time, or like just like out there for a long time, it's helpful, because like all of my relapses have been really short. Except for the one that I went back the third time. I had been like I realized I had been high for like a week straight, and I'm like, okay. But all of my relapses have pretty much been like a night or two, and then I'm back, and I'm like right back in the program.
And that's part of the reason why, like, so I feel like I got it, or want to think that I got it all out before I started this round of sobriety, because for me, if I pick up, I'm out. Like, it's not going to be two days or a weekend or a week. It's going to be I'm out for a while, and I'll probably die, because that's how I drink, and that's how like I go all in. And it's like, it will be that fuck it moment, and be like, fuck it, I gave up all this. I'm just gonna do it for a little bit. So people like you who like say they party for a weekend and then come right back, I'm like, whoo, I don't know how you do it. But it's pretty cool. It's good. It's a good thing that you were able to like hop right back into it.
It is. And you know, and part of it is back to that mentality that I had before, right? Being homeless, no. So
Facts.
When I'm like, okay, like I just spent all of my rent money and I have 2 weeks to make it back. Focus, boy. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then there's also like, if I miss work, then I won't have money. Like, I used to look at it like this. And this is how I got away with it. And like a lot of people didn't know like what was going on with me. If I get arrested, if I lose my job, that is a huge hindrance to me getting fucked up. Exactly. And I cannot have that. Facts. So like, that's how I looked at it. And so, you know, I guess for me, like, and we talk about the concept of like low bottoms and high bottoms. Yeah. Like, I've always been a high bottom, because I've always been like, there's only so low that I'm willing to go.
Facts. And I feel like even me, like, if I'm honest, I was a high bottom. I was emotionally low, if we can separate those two things, because what was happening inside, depression, suicide, rampant eating disorder, like not feeling like enough, all that stuff, my emotions were low. But like my functioning for most of it, you know, I would not survive on the streets of Kensington. Like, I would be someone's bitch real quick. Like, I am not able to, I just don't come from that. Like, I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to be without good food. I like to eat. Someone who has bulimia who likes food is kind of crazy, but that's me. And yeah, so it's just like, no, I still have those my survival needs still need to be met. Not to say that if I were to go back out, it wouldn't eventually get to that point, because I hear that story all the time.
Right.
People who eventually do, even with, you know, all the desire in them to function, there comes a point where they can't even anymore. And so I know that that's out there waiting for me. But like me with this cognition that I still have, I need money. I still need to be, you know, taken care of. I still need a house. I still need food, whatever. Yeah.
Well, technically, you can't be bulimic without eating food first. So
stop it. Stop it. A foodie. A bulimic foodie is what I meant. Like, I love food. I just don't like to keep it in me. I'm in recovery for that too, though. So just throw that out there.
On that note, one thing that we gained from sobriety is being able to joke about this shit.
True. That's so true. Like, and only people who've been through this would understand why we're laughing, right? But we can laugh now, and that's cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
Even though it's kind of, what is it? Dry humor, sick
Dark
humor, dark humor.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Nah, it's all good. But yeah, like, so I went back for a couple of reasons. Like we started talking about before, certain drugs, alcohol, benzos, right? Certain ones, it's medically dangerous to try to withdraw on your own. And so those, sometimes it's better to be under the supervision of a doctor, the medical detox part. And so, like, for me being on alcohol, it was safer to detox, go to a facility than to just try to do it on my own. I have detoxed on my own. Never really able to stick with it too long. Usually after day 3, I'm struggling. If I happen to get to 8 days, mentally, I'm just a mess, right? And so I go back to drinking because that's the sadness and the mental thoughts and the shame is all coming back. So, like, people would say, like, go back to rehab, and I didn't want to. But for me, it was, having that safety of 30 days to just be away from my thing. And, like, yeah, I know the work. Now I know, like, the work is after. But if I can give myself a 30-day buffer, which I could never get on my own, then maybe I come out and I want to keep that momentum going. That's what happened this last time. It was like, I'm in there, and I went in knowing that, like, I was really going to give it a shot this time. But on the way out, when I was coming out, I was like, okay, this is the moment. I can either go back to doing it and do this whole cycle again, or I can really try this time and just use these 14 days. It was only 14 days because my insurance was getting sick of me. They were like, I was like, I could use this 14 days and I could have this buffer and I can just keep it going. And so, yeah. And the thing about, like, rehab, like you said, growing and working on ourselves, right? I learned something differently each time. Not so much the detox times, the detox 3 days or 7 days. That was literally just to get it out my system. But when I went for rehab, I learned something different. Like, there was this one time I was in a trauma track, and I literally just worked on trauma, which was, there's two sides of this, right? Those of us in the field know, like, you don't want an addict to work on their trauma too soon, but we at least need to know that there is trauma there that needs to be worked on. That part of the journey is going to be at some point figuring out this stuff because it's part of the reason why we're drinking. So I need to address that and process it. So the way it was done was like, all right, we're going to talk about this stuff that you can never talk about before, validating that your experiences are real and, you were hurt and, this was a coping skill, right? And so I needed to hear that early on to be like, oh, okay, I'm not insane. I'm not just, drinking over all these memories and it's not, important. Someone was there to listen. So, like, that opened up a door to, at least being able to do trauma work and therapy work later on. And at one point, when you said something was missing, I had this was near the end of drinking. I had this one counselor who was always talking about spirituality. And basically, in all of our groups, he would say, if you don't have spirituality, you are going to relapse. And I know, like, in AA, we talk a lot about God, higher power, which I just always have to say does not equal Christianity, right? People always have this misconception that AA is a religious program, and it's not. It's a spiritual program. So this last time around, I was like, all right, what is this spirituality thing? So I had to start figuring that out. And to your point about listening to argue, I had a whole rehab stay where I was ready to argue because of we agnostics. I had no idea what that chapter was about. I literally thought we would talk about how we're agnostic and don't need Christianity. That's not what it was about. But I needed to be in there to, like, have all that stuff broken down for me. I had this one rehab stay where I was in the this program for chronic relapsers, and that was pretty good because we just worked on hardcore coping skills. And, that's really what this is about. Like you said earlier, like, I didn't have any other tools, so I need to, like, get some other tools to help me. But yeah, now I tell anybody, like, especially if you're in that place where it could be medically dangerous. You're safer in rehab if you have the access and the means, if you have someone who can watch your kids, if you have a job that's going to be, all those things are real things that keep people away. If you can put yourself first and your health first, it's a hospital, right? And it's okay to go and get better, with the hope, we hope that when you come out, you stay with it. That doesn't always happen. So if you need to go back, maybe you need to work on a different area, and that's okay. But just having that, people say it's okay. Like 12 rehabs is what I needed. Like, it's not shameful. It got me to where I am. Some people have more than that, right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
shamed 20, 40 times, but it's like, you never know when it's going to click. And you're alive right here today. Put yourself first. Do it. Because you never know when it's going to stick. But,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, TJ.
Yes, Dwayne.
I want to say thank you for letting me share today.
Thank you for sharing.
I really want to touch on the spirituality and emotional sobriety that we kind of like touched on a little bit. Yeah.
That's a whole episode,
right? Exactly. So that's why we're going to pick it up next episode.
Cool.
All right. Dwayne and TJ, thanks for letting us share.